Throughout the history of Fortnite, we have had some crazy items, some crazy skins, all the way back starting with Season 0, and that means a lot of things have been removed in Fortnite. So today we're going to be talking about just that. 15 removed things inside of Fortnite. And before we hop into it, guys, if you are hoping for next week off of school, quick, leave a like on the video and also make sure to subscribe. See how fast you can do both. But yes, guys, we're going to be covering removed things with skins, removed items, even removed mechanics in the game over the many seasons of Fortnite, and they get crazier as we get further into the video. And as for the skin challenge on last video, I'm not home right now, so we'll double up for next time. Comment down below the name of this skin, and I'll leave hearts on a bunch of the ones that get that right. I want to remind you to go check out the Omen challenge that I was recently a contestant on, because again, there's even some stuff you guys can get as well. But yeah, the Omen challenge is a video game show brought to you by Omen, powered by Intel. This competition was between 8 of the best gamers and content creators, with myself included, where we competed in 6 rounds on 6 different wild Fortnite maps to see who would win the grand prize. It's even hosted by Ron Funches, who honestly was a ton of fun to be around. And best of all, you can watch the full series, that's right, the full series right now on Omen's YouTube channel, linked down below in the description, with all of the episodes available to stream. You can even get a free Uber Eats code so you can watch and snack. And guess what? On top of that, you guys can have the chance to win your own Omen prizes, because they're going to be doing a series of giveaways over on the Omen pages, so be sure to go check those out for more details. But again, go watch the game show. Now let's start off here with something that's fairly small, but was removed way back in 2018. This was all the way back in V2.5 of the game. I'm talking about the loot shrines or loot towers that were added around the map. Now specifically, these were added for a special sort of mini event around Lunar New Year that year, and inside of these towers, you could find some extra loot. There wasn't anything crazy inside of them, just a couple of chests, but once they were gone after this event, Fortnite never brought them back as far as I'm aware. So it was a pretty forgotten thing added back towards the beginning of Fortnite. But then after that, speaking about a skin specifically, this was originally released all the way back in Chapter 1. I'm talking about the toy soldier skins. Now these got a drastic change because, as you can see, when they were first released, they basically looked like army men toys. Completely green and gray, they had 2 different styles, and they were pretty cool starting out. However, people quickly found out that the green variant blended in way too well with the green grass around the map. YouTubers started making videos on this. I remember using it at that time as well, and it eventually led to Epic Games changing it to a more dirty, beat up variant of the toy. And honestly, it's not as cool anymore. But then taking a step way back to the OG days of Fortnite, this is something that I honestly can't believe was ever in the game. Friendly fire was once a normal feature of the regular Fortnite modes. And when I say friendly fire, I mean like you could eliminate your teammates in squads. Yeah, so that obviously led to a lot of players messing around with each other. Like, I remember if one person got a scar, a lot of the times they'd just get eliminated by their teammates to take that item, and then they'd have to back out to the lobby. So it's pretty obvious why Epic Games actually changed it, but it was in the game for quite a bit, way back at the start of Fortnite. Now, throughout the following seasons of Fortnite, we also got a ton of different foraged items, whether that be bananas, apples. In fact, I believe apples were like one of the first ones that's still in the game to this day. But one that is often forgotten is the glitched foraged item. This, I believe, appeared in Season X of Chapter 1. They only appeared in this one specific area on the map, which was just north of Tilted. And what was weird about them is that they randomly cycled between 5 different items every few seconds. Those items were apples, peppers, mushrooms, coconuts, and hop rocks. But after this season, they were gone and never seen again. Now, moving way back in the Fortnite timeline towards the earlier seasons, before we even had the spike traps, the first trap I believe we ever had was, well, one of 2 items. The first was the wall dynamo, an electric type trap that you attached to the wall, and it would deal electric damage to players that walked in front of it. Specifically, it did 125 damage, which was pretty good. However, the one problem is that it made this electric sound that meant like anybody nearby would know that there's a trap there. Similarly, there was also the ceiling zapper, which acted pretty much the same way, except obviously it was placed on the ceiling, and that too did 125 damage and also used electricity, so it made those electric sounds, easily giving it away. But again, these were vaulted fairly soon after and replaced with the normal traps. Now, how about then a weapon that was removed? And this is actually one that we talked about how it may be returning in the near future. I'm talking about the guided missile launcher, or guided rocket launcher, whatever you want to call it. This item was introduced way back in Season 5 during a content update. It even had a special trailer and everything. everything. And how it worked was you would actually fire it and then switch into this camera mode where you could control the guided missile, flying it through the air and attacking opponents from practically anywhere. It did have limited fuel, so you couldn't like fly it across the entire map, but it was pretty effective. However, the damage wasn't too great. It was only around 75 damage, and it later got vaulted in season 6. And then going back to skins for a second, another one I wanted to highlight is a glider that was added in, I believe, chapter 2 season 2. During my personal favorite season, the secret agent season, we also got the skin Deadpool. However, alongside him, we then got a bunch of items inside of the item shop, with one of which being the DRAGACORN glider. Now, what's interesting about this is that when it first released, it had a completely different animation. When you first deployed it, you would grab onto the llamacorn and then do this like crazy flip in the air before actually standing on top of it and gliding downwards. Now, this gave you a pretty decent advantage because if you were gliding through the air, it made it almost impossible for anybody to hit you, and that led to Fortnite later changing it to a very simplified variant of the animation and then allowing people to even refund it if they didn't like the new animation. Kind of similar to what they did with the toy soldier skins. And then guys, I wanted to highlight something that was removed honestly fairly recently, but I kind of completely forgot about it. The ability to craft weapons and items. This was literally added last chapter, but how many of us really ever utilized that mechanic? I mean, again, you could craft weapons, you could craft a couple of other things, but honestly, Fortnite never really made much use of it, leading to it being a sort of forgotten mechanic that was removed. Now, moving on back to the foraged items for a second, since again, there's been so many in the game, there's honestly a bunch that have kind of been forgotten about. Like this one right here, the spicy taco. This one could only be found way back in season 10 of chapter 1 in one specific location, which was the Greasy Grove Rift Zone, where I believe randomly during that location on the map, music would start playing and these tacos would fall from the sky. Now, as you may be able to guess from the name, it gave you this similar ability to peppers where you could move faster, and on top of that, healed you 10 HP or shield. But again, it was only in the game for honestly a short amount of time. And speaking of something else that was in the game for a short amount of time, the directional jump pad. That's right, before the main ways of launching into the air, such as the bouncer pads, and of course the all well-known launch pad, even the crash pad, there was the directional jump pad. And it actually came in two different varieties. The first of which was the horizontal variant, which obviously launched you more forwards and outwards. And then there was the vertical variant, which launched you upwards. And that seems to be the precursor to the bouncer pad, actually. But what's even more interesting is that these only took up like a quarter of a tile. However, they were quickly vaulted and never seen again. Now, how about something a little bit more recent, but it's been gone for like 2 years now. This has to do with chapter 2 season 4, the Marvel season. Later in that season, when the Stark Industries location showed up on the map, we got a very special variant of the cars, which was the Stark Industry car, essentially an Iron Man variant of the Whiplash. And what was unique about this one is that it didn't require any gas. Since it was obviously made by Iron Man, it had an infinite amount of power, and I believe it was even faster than the normal Whiplash as well, with a rechargeable boost. Honestly, I kind of wish they would bring it back. But speaking of something that's true OG Fortnite, the OG Fortnite menu. I mean, you gotta admit, it's kind of nostalgic. It was very simple, but way different from the current menu. You still had the same like 4 player pads where you and your friends would be seen with your outfits, but like, for example, one big change was that it would show your banner on the main screen on the left and also have a border around it that corresponded to what level you were at. Now, really, this didn't have much use. You could also see challenges right off the bat, and it was kind of fun loading into matches seeing the closed beta tag at the top of the screen. And you know something that was also pretty OG? The mounted turret, which was released all the way back in season 6 of chapter 1. And this item was honestly super unique. It was, I believe, the first legendary trap item, so it wasn't anything that took up your 5 inventory slots. You instead placed it on a build similar to like a damage trap or any other trap, and then you got to hop into it and use it as a turret, obviously. Now, the damage on this thing when it first released, I remember was like super good, especially since you couldn't really get hit from anywhere with it, considering how big it was and how much of the character it took up. It also had a ton of HP at the time, which later got patched and nerfed, and it was even added in certain LTMs. Like, how about a bonus one here, the Tomato Wars LTM? Do you guys remember that? Still though, the mounted turret can be found in creative. And you know what, going back to chapter 2 season 4 for a second, because there's another thing I want to highlight. Back in this season, before hireable NPCs were even a thing, at least I think think they weren't a thing back then. Maybe they were already, but one of the more unique things was the Stark robots. These showed up around the map, mainly at these Avengers Quinjet locations where they would actually fight you. But what's super unique about them is that when you knocked them down, you could run up and there was an option to hack the robot, and then it would become an NPC that follows you around and fights for you. It was a super cool feature, but honestly, not a lot of people used it. I don't remember using it very much, but it was kind of cool. But moving on here, let's talk about an item, and this one is the decoy grenade. Something that was only in, I believe it was only in 2 seasons actually, Chapter 2 Season 2, and oddly enough, Chapter 2 Season 4. At least I think. I honestly don't remember it in that season. I barely remember this item at all, but as you may expect, it was a throwable item that spawned a decoy, basically created a fake version of the player. I believe it even had the same cosmetics that you were wearing, and it would move around and fire randomly, trying to act like a distraction for other players. However, due to it acting like an NPC, it was pretty easy to tell them apart, and nobody really ever used them, leading to them being removed from the game fairly fast. But anyways, guys, that is going to be it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, be sure to subscribe as well as turn on notifications for more fun videos like this coming up super soon. And you can also check out some of my previous videos on the screen right here. Just go ahead and click on one. But again, I hope you enjoyed today's video, and I'll see you in the next one.